So I'd like to start off by saying it took me a long time to figure out what I wanted to do this presentation on. However, I came to the conclusion that I wanted to do it on how I learned how to sanction creatively. Now, I'm a huge Star Wars guy, for those of you who do not know, so I decided to tailor my presentation to how Luke became a Jedi. So without further ado, let's get this going. So before I engage in my reflection, I'd like to tell you a little bit of feedback on where I came from. So last year, I was a resident director at Sanctioning College, where I supervised a staff of 10 RAs and 2 buildings comprised of over 250 all-male residents, freshmen and sophomore students. Needless to say, it's a lot of work. Now, as part of one of my job requirements, I had to conduct administrative hearings for policy violations with my own students. Now, Sanctioning is very unique in the way that it uses a cookie-cutter set of sanctions. Basically, what that means is each policy has a specific violation. So, alcohol policy, there's a violation for that, and so on and so forth. So anyways, it was throughout the second semester during my RD career that I decided I really love higher education and I really enjoy student conduct. So that's what kind of inspired me to apply to the fellowship program. I remember showing up on interview day, seeing all of you, everyone is both excited and nervous, almost like Jedi younglings entering the Jedi Academy for the first time. So, like all of you, we were all awarded fellowships. I happened to get my fellowship in the Office of Community Standards, where I met Donna Swardow, our fearless leader, Paula Holland, our MVP or VIP, nothing could happen without her, and of course the master himself, Preston Crito, who is my Master Yoda for student conduct. I wouldn't have learned anything without him. So I remember the first day that I arrived on the campus, first day at the fellowship. I remember Preston taking me out to lunch. He was asking me how I was feeling, if I was excited, if I was nervous. He was also telling me how the year was going to how the year was going to run. I told him, oh, I'm really excited. I don't really have any nerves. I just kind of want to dive in. I couldn't wait for the students to come up. Little did I know that was going to happen extremely fast. I remember getting my first case. It was an alcohol incident that took place outside of a residence hall. So I remember going to Preston and saying, hey, Preston, what are some of the sanctions that you would give? Like, where's the outline? And he said, oh, we don't have any set in stone sanctions. At this point, I was totally lost, totally confused, had no idea what was up, what was down. So I conducted the incident. I ended up getting through it. It was a little bit painful, but I ended up doing an okay job. So by that point, I went inside. I sat down with Preston. I was saying, listen, I was only taught how to cookie cutter sanction. I'm not really sure. I don't even know if I could do this. And he's basically reassuring me, saying, you can do this. You have to get that out of your mind. You have to basically unlearn what you've learned. Basically, what we're going to do, my goal for this semester and for the year, is to break that cookie cutter sanctioning, and for you to learn how to creative sanction. Now, basically, I was hearing this. I was a little bit reassured, but at the same time, I was extremely nervous. I really didn't know what to expect. It was just, I was second guessing myself. I remember he gave me a couple more cases, kind of similar to the first case I had. I had a couple drug policies, violations as well. So I would sit down, I would kind of work out through what I think would be most beneficial for the students to give them. But at the same time, I was still second guessing, I was still confused. I remember going to Preston after every incident I would get assigned. Do you think I did this right? Am I doing this right? Basically, I was second guessing everything that I had learned. But at the same time, I was going through some changes. So as the semester continued, I was getting more and more cases, and they were starting to get a little bit different, which caused me to think outside of the box. I was starting to embrace the fact that there's no more cookie cutter. So as the semester continued, I was getting more and more confident with my abilities, but still asking questions. There was one day Preston pulled me into his office and said, Ben, you're only allowed 2 questions for all your incidents. Basically, it was a tough love moment. A do or do not, there is no try. I have to be able to do this on my own. Preston's not going to be there and help me with this decision process forever. So I took that to heart, and I kept on going throughout the semester. And by then, I was much more confident. I felt like I could lift the entire world on my shoulders. I was feeling good about every meeting I was having. I felt like the students were actually benefiting from it. And I actually had 2 or 3 incidents that actually stood out to me. So by the end of the semester, I had our last one-on-one meeting with Preston, which was probably the highest point of me learning about creative sanctioning. Remember, I was sitting down, we were going through the goals, everything that I achieved, that I learned throughout the semester. And the one thing he stood out to me and said was that, Ben, I trust you. I trust your judgment when it comes to every incident. Now, second semester rolls around, getting back into the swing of things. I'm trying to keep track of all the incidents, all the sanctions that took place from last semester. How I want, basically just touching base with all the students, making sure everything is followed up by, and so on and so forth. So, as the semester rolls around, I'm not getting the typical incidents I used to get anymore. Instead of getting the normal alcohol policies and drug policies, I'm getting something completely different. I was getting theft incidents. I was getting DUI incidents. I was getting incidents that involved a student falling asleep in the middle of the highway. That, again, challenging my abilities to creative sanction. But what I really enjoyed was the fact that I had so much confidence by this semester. I would walk in, Preston would give me my incidents. After about 20 minutes of reading them, Preston would call me back in and start quizzing me. Ben, what do you think you're going to do for these? And I would basically give him my answers. By the way, I'll tell you the answer to this after the presentation is done. So basically, what I'm planning to do with my creative sanctioning is I've had several phone interviews. I actually have a job interview next week. And every interview question, every question they've asked me has to do with creative sanctioning. So without this training, I wouldn't have been able to give the examples that I was able to give them. This, learning how to creative sanction was probably the most beneficial thing for me. So just as a recap, started off as a simple resin director, moisture farmer. I'm coming to the school not really knowing too much about creative sanctioning. But now I'm learning the Jedi ways. And as I'm leaving the school, I'm planning on using my new creative sanction methods. The question is, where am I going to go in the future? Well, I'm not sure where I'm going to end up, but where I'd like to end up is I hope to be either a director of student conduct one day, perhaps even a dean of students, and I want to be able to pass on the knowledge that I have learned to future conduct professionals or future people who want to even surpass my career goals. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed our Jedi journey together.